Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt,
And I'm Sam.
and today we are discussing episode 9. Man, it's already 9 episodes, Sam. Episode 9, Solitary. As Sayid maps the island, he finds himself the prisoner of Danielle Rousseau, the French woman who sent the distress call 16 years ago. Meanwhile, to combat stress and boredom, Hurley builds a golf course. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you love it?
Oh, heck yeah. I loved it.
It was a really good episode, right?
Yeah, it really was.
I think we mentioned this last time. It was like just at the end because I wanted to bring it up before we ended. But it had been a couple episodes since we had got more into the mysteries of the island.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way last episode ended, Saeed's going off to map the island. Now we get that, and we definitely got thrown headfirst into more, I guess you could call it island lore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay, what are your thoughts, comments, concerns? Speak to me, brother.
Well, I have to say, I think I don't know. I thought it was very cool that the French woman is there.
Mm-hmm.
Is still there. That was such a head trip for me. Like, whoa, and it just kind of shows okay, it adds an extra dimension to the island itself, because you have these people who just got there. They've been there maybe almost a month, closing in on a month.
I don't even think it's that much. I'll try as we talk. I'll try and find out the answer.
But it's they've been there for a while. They've been there longer than they expected to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just now seemingly getting to this point where it's like, hey, we need something to do. Things aren't going so great, and all that. And then you have that juxtaposed with this woman who's been on her own for 16 years, just talking to herself, going silently insane. That's just baffling to me.
In a way, I mean, I guess we already kind of lost hope by finding out that this signal had been playing for 16 years. But to see that she's here still alive, I guess that's hopeful because her SOS is pretty ominous, saying it killed them all.
Yeah.
And then just knowing that there's something out there in the jungle eating trees and pilots, So to see okay, it is survivable.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly is it? What's out there? I don't know. And this episode starts instantly. We get Sayid on the beach looking at a picture of who we later find out is Nadia. And he sees a cable coming out of the beach. And he pulls it and he sees it leads into the ocean, which we still don't really know a lot about. They never really address it in this episode. But he follows that cable all the way into the jungle and he falls into Rousseau's trap, which was very cleverly done because he even sees it, sidesteps it, and falls into the next trap.
Yeah.
Predator level hunting right there. So I looked it up, Sam. This is day 12 on the island.
Oh, wow.
So there's still less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
So and that's something to think about too with the show. A lot of shows, time passes between episodes. For the most part, Lost is almost day by day. And if it isn't, they'll mention it. Mm-hmm. So Jack mentions in this episode that Saeed's been gone for 2 days. So I think that 2-day gap is the longest time jump we've had in Lost up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming it's just 2 more days of just, chilling in caves and getting bored.
Yeah.
Let's talk, but before we go into the island stuff, let's talk about Saeed's flashbacks, because as his capture with Rousseau and his torture and everything that happens, he keeps flashing back to his time in the Republican Guard, and where we find out that he was technically an intelligence officer, which he has already said, but heavily implying torture. Now we don't actually see Sayid torture anyone, but we know what he's capable of. We saw what he did to Sawyer last episode. It almost seems like this is definitely like the beginning of that. So I don't know if I would call him a torturer in these flashbacks, because he seemed kind of put off by it. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell when you have different time periods like that, because in the beginning of the episode, like I say, he was intelligence.
Yeah.
And then he gets a promotion, and then at some point he has to work on Nadia. Which, no, I mean that it's almost all back to back, because as he's getting promoted, he sees them dragging her across the base.
Yeah, it seems like he starts off more as like interrogation,
right?
Like not necessarily torture. Probably with his promotion, it kind of moved up to that.
Because he was just talking. His interrogating, he was just talking. At least that's all we saw.
Yeah, that's all we saw. So,
but as the episode plays out, we realize that they used to be childhood acquaintances. They weren't really friends. But there's definitely some kind of bond grows between them during this time. I think the closest thing they say to a timeline is like 6 weeks, maybe.
I think so. Yeah,
they mentioned that's how long she's been locked up, and he's like just feeding her secretly and stuff. And in the end, he's faced with a choice of execute her or help her escape. So he helps her escape, and what seems like he kills his commanding officer / friend to help her escape. And what's interesting about this one, like we were saying, is the time frame. Because every flashback up until now has been about why the survivor is in Australia. Well, I guess Sawyer's wasn't.
No, Sawyer's wasn't.
So everyone else was. We saw Jack, Kate, Charlie, Son and Jen. Locke. We all saw them like right before they got on the flight. But Sawyer and Sayid, we haven't. So we don't exactly know how long time gap is.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think that kind of adds to the mystery too. Instead of saying like, 1993 or something, you know what I mean? Instead of placing a date on the screen, I think it's better to keep it like this. It also leaves it open for the writers to play around with it. Because you could obviously have an idea right now, episode 9, and then by the end of the season, you're like, what would be cool if this happened, between these points.
Right.
And we've already discussed how a lot of this they're kind of making up as they go this first season. So I think it works to their benefit that we don't know the time frame of this stuff. Especially this is in Iraq, so I can't really tell what year it is just based on their surroundings.
Yeah.
It's on a military base and a lot of dark interrogation rooms. Whereas other places you can kind of tell, but maybe cars, clothing, stuff like that. As dark as that storyline is, it's a pretty fun episode.
Yeah.
Like Sayid does get tortured a bit by Russo, but even then, like their relationship, there's something very sweet about it. I think they really do a good job at humanizing Russo, and like you feel bad for her. She's like this archetype, the crazy person.
Yeah.
But you really get her humanity, and the actress's name is Mira Furlan, I believe. Who did a phenomenal job, man. Like, there's so much back and forth. Like, I would totally be like scared of her, and then less than a minute later, I'm just like so enraptured by her. Like, I just want to protect you. Like, you've seen so much crap, Like, I just want to help. So, yeah. So I don't know. What did you think about the whole? Because this is your first time seeing it, so there's a lot of little stuff that got dropped or hinted around, new little lore, a map. Sayid ends up taking a map Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about that whole Russo and Sayid?
Um, I really liked it. I think they have an interesting rapport with one another, and yeah, just having the two of them sort of going through something similar. You know, Rousseau is on her own, uh, seemingly not by choice, but Saeed is on his own by choice. And having that conversation, and then of course they both lost people that they love, and they both know that there's something up with the island. You know, Rousseau more than Saeed, but um, yeah, I think it's just an interesting dynamic. And I was wondering if we were gonna get something like this. You know, obviously, jumping ahead, I know that there are other people on the island. I know that there's the group called the Others. They don't come into play until a little bit later, but just as of right now, I know that there has been at least this one group, Rousseau's group, and then seemingly there were the Adam and Eve, the dead bodies that they found in the caves. So it's like, so it's not, there have been people on the island before. So I guess I was just kind of like curious, like, are we ever going to see like people, you know, that have been there for like years and years? And then, yeah, you know, Rousseau pops up, and
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I love that trope in like Lost World sort of stories. You know, it's like, or it's an uninhabited island, you know, never discovered by man, except for that one person. You know, except for that one.
It's kind of crazy, right? Because like that in itself is terrifying. Like, okay, no one has ever been here before, but then to find
Mm-hmm.
out, like, no, someone has. It's both equally like hopeful but terrifying at the same time, because
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start adding in something more, something
Mm-hmm.
other. There's something else going on here. How could this, what's happening to me, happen to someone else as well?
Yeah.
Just statistically alone, that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start tipping into something else, which I think I've brought it up before. But now that we are over 10 years since the show ended, more stories are coming out. People are talking about the process more. A lot more is coming out about ABC and their influence on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that got brought up with this episode was that one, J.J. Abrams helped pitch this episode. So he ended up writing and doing the pilot with Lindelof, and he stuck around, and like they figured out a lot of the first season. So he helped
Okay.
pitch a lot of those ideas, and then he
Then
took
he
off.
left. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was still in and out a little bit, but for the most part, he was gone. But in the original draft of this, Russo was going to go into more detail about what her research team was doing. What were they
Mm-hmm.
studying? So in this, she explains how almost the same way they got lost or they crashed. Right? Is that what she says? I'm
I
trying to
think
remember.
so.
She says, I believe she said they were off the coast of Tahiti,
Mm-hmm.
and then lost happened. And they ended up on this island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, in the original script, they were going to go into more detail, like what were they studying, and the studios, when they got a hold of the script, they told them to cut that.
Hmm. That's interesting.
I'm trying to say, how can I say this without spoilers? Just like it wasn't. Basically, the studio's mindset was we want to keep as much mystery as we can,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird because we're already, like we're talking about, we're already getting Lost World vibes. We're already getting some kind of either like a sci-fi or supernatural type vibe with the
Mm-hmm.
show.
Mm-hmm.
So that presence is already there, but ABC wanted even less. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
less is more, less is more. So they ended up cutting or rewriting a lot of the scenes, so Russo was even more vague,
Mm-hmm.
which gives you a good idea of like what was kind of going on behind the scenes, which isn't really a big deal, but if you consider like that's happening every episode,
Mm-hmm.
and the studios are kind of shaping your show, then
Mm-hmm.
it starts to paint a bigger picture. It's like, oh, okay, I see. And that's nothing unique to Lost. That happens with so many different shows. especially at that time.
Oh yeah.
Studios nowadays, they're kind of more trusting of their creators. They know they're going to hire someone for X, Y, and Z as long as they deliver X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. We're a much more creator driven culture now.
Right.
You know, where like you can bring people in, you know, to be like, hey, like we want to work with you, so like pitch us something,
Yeah.
you know, or you know, kind of the opposite, like, hey, like we wanted you to do this series, you know, like how would you feel about doing this? How would you do it? You know, something like that, and that's where we're at now. But yeah, back in the 2000s, that really wasn't the case, you know.
Right.
Um, yeah, this and even, you know, I guess maybe towards the end it sort of gets, you know, Lindelof and Carlton Cuse kind of get more of a free reign to do
Mm-hmm.
what they want with the show. But yeah, definitely not at that time. So yeah, it's not, that's not too surprising, but I guess it is sort of refreshing is not the right word, but it's sort of like, oh yeah, of course, like duh, that makes sense, you know, like yeah, of
Yeah.
course the studio would want to have as much control over this as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even it was during the conception of season 3 when Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse started saying we want to end this show at some point because ABC wanted 10 years.
Yeah.
And typically the way that happens is they just get a new showrunner, you know, unless you got some heavy credentials, which is very rare, especially back then. It's very rare for one person to be able to defy a studio like that. It
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. You know, you
Yeah.
finish your contract or they fire you and then they get a new showrunner. That still happens today. But Lost, it it made the news, man. It was a big deal when they announced after season 3 that they were going to end at season 6.
Mm.
So with 3 year one, just for any studio to give their show 3 seasons, that's almost unheard of, especially
Yeah.
back then, even now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just that was kind of the start of, hey, we're going to trust you, deliver, do this. All of that to this point was all the paid stuff, you know. You're paying HBO, you're paying Showtime to get stuff like that, where nobody was going to tell the creators of The Sopranos, no, I want you to keep going,
Yeah.
you know. No way. But network television, hell yeah. So this was kind of like the beginning, one of the catalysts
Mm-hmm.
that happened. It's fascinating thinking back because there's a lot of things I forget about the time period and stuff. And to have a character like Sayid, who's Middle Eastern descent, to lead, he's not the lead of the show, but he's the lead of this episode, you know, and to
Mm-hmm.
go into it. This is 2004. So this is still like 9/11 was still fresh on everyone's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't remember the exact timeline, but for sure we were already in Iraq by now.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think it was a bit, I guess it was ballsy at the time, but also like good on them that they wanted a character of this particular background. Because it's
Mm-hmm.
not just that he's Middle Eastern. He was a soldier,
Mm-hmm.
possibly even a torturer, you
Yeah.
know. But to have him be one of the good guys, that's pretty progressive. But it, you know, even looking at it, it's like, okay, yeah, this seems right. You know, looking at it with a 2020 mindset. Um, but back then, yeah, I think I don't know, good on them. So
I agree.
hell yeah. Now that was the meat of the episode. Let's get into the potatoes. Hurley. Hurley is trying. Hurley's just he wants to save everyone. He wants to make sure everyone's enjoying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So he ends up finding golf clubs in the wreckage, and he builds a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What would you, Sam? What would you do if you were a survivor on this show? Like, what role would you be playing?
I don't know. I'd probably trying to be building people shelters, or
Yeah.
finding food, finding
Mm-hmm.
digging latrines. We talked about this. I would be doing the Boy Scout thing. Just be like, well,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna be here for a while, so we gotta find stuff out. Yeah. Look, I will just say this up front. I couldn't care less if they were if I decided to play golf. Like, no, I don't like golf. Golf is not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. In this situation, sure, I'd probably be like, yeah, okay. But also a little part of me is just like, really? Of all the things, we have to bring golf to this godforsaken island. We have to bring this godforsaken sport to this place. Is nothing sacred.
I love Sawyer's line. He's like, "What? Doctor playing golf? What's next? Cop eating a donut?"
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, I love it.
On that front, Sawyer, we agree.
Yeah, and Sawyer actually tried this episode. He's trying to get along. After Kate said, from one outsider to the other, you might want to try a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everyone kind of gives him the cold shoulder when he's making bets against the doctor in golf. But Kate takes him up on it. It's like, okay, and they kind of let him into the golf group. It's like, that's nice to see, especially in an episode that's not Sawyer centric. It's good to see those little moments in between. Speaking of little moments,
Uh-oh.
let's talk about Walt.
Okay.
Because we've already talked about Michael, and I don't want to say he's a bad dad. He doesn't know how to be a dad. You can tell like this is brand new to him, because in this episode he's a bad dad.
Yeah.
He's just like ignoring his kid. He forgets about him because he's playing golf. And so what does Walt do? He does what any boy does. He goes after John Locke and asks him how to use a knife. I don't know, man. He has that good little talk with Locke, and when he flips that knife and hands it to him, I'm like, oh.
Yep.
Oh, man. Nothing good can come for this.
No, nothing good will come of this.
Yeah.
Oh, and Locke has a friend now, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. There's a lot of new faces this episode just on this island.
Yeah.
Locke has a hunting buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's a hypochondriac on the island.
That'd be you.
That would be me. I love it, dude. And it's just like Jack's just like, he's just stressing out. He's like, hey, Doc, that rash, it's spreading, like, y'all playing golf? Yeah, man, there's some new faces, and this is kind of one of the things that's good and bad about the show is that I don't remember. There's 48 survivors, I think, in the first episode.
I believe so.
Every now and then, we'll get an episode where there's a new survivor. Where the hell have you been?
Yeah.
I could think of a few cases in the later years where it doesn't work. I'm like, hold on, are you mean to tell me this person has been here this whole time living on this beach? Whereas there's other times where it really works. You're like, okay, this is cool. I could easily imagine you being one of those background people,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
see, it's kind of like it's the opposite of Star Trek, where like,
right.
I can conceivably, see like, oh, okay, yeah, like maybe we'll get like a couple of the same people in the background, but I think it's kind of rare if there's the same people even on the bridge, that aren't main cast. I think it's kind of rare if they're the same people there throughout the whole season, let alone the whole series. So that way, you can have people coming in and out, or like playing this sort of character, but also like it's a ship, it's a crew. There's a lot of people there, And yeah, they go to stations, they have missions, they're doing all that stuff. But when it's a set group of a certain number of survivors from a plane crash, 5-6 years into this event, like it does kind of seem a little weird if, like, I don't know, this guy shows up, he's like, yeah, my name is Stone, I'm a
So
cop. It's
what?
like,
We got a Hell's
wait,
Angel on this
yeah,
on this beach.
yeah, I'm a Hell's Angel, but really I'm also an undercover cop
Oh
named,
God,
named Stone,
Stone.
pretending to be a Hell's Angel. I'm going crazy with the heat. It's like, well, where
John
were
Stone,
you?
the most fake name I've ever heard.
You could have. Why didn't you help us hunt boar and stuff? It's like, because I know how to ride hogs, not hunt them. Well, I
So
mean, I guess that's sound.
on that point, I will agree with you, except I will disagree when it comes to Star Trek, because Star Trek, although it makes sense because it is like it's not military, but it's a militaristic kind of organization where you have people coming and going. You know, they'll leave and they get transferred, so it makes sense to see new people. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm watching Next Gen, like the first time as a grown adult, I'm seeing that no, a lot of the extras are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm like reading like the wikis afterwards to find out all the behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of actors who like that's their job. They're professional Star Trek background actors. They're not extras.
Man,
They're not background actors. They're
if
solely
if
Star Trek background actors.
if there's any casting agents listening to this, that's my dream.
Yeah.
I just want to be a professional Star Trek background actor. Yeah. I'll fall too. I can fall in place.
Right? Yeah. So I'm like season 4 Next Gen, and there's a character who shows up in the background, no lines, and I find out that she's in the rest of the series. She's in the movies. So I go look her up. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
there she
Yeah,
is,
we
First
talked about
Contact.
that. Yeah.
There she is at the celebration in Insurrection. I was like, oh man. So they did it. Star Trek did it well. They had background actors who slowly got more screen time. Chief O'Brien's kind of the big example too,
That's
because
true.
he's in the pilot, and even though he has lines, he's just in a handful of episodes every season until he's in more and more and more. And they really liked him. They love the actor. And like last night, I just saw the episode where he gets married. We had never seen him in a relationship, but now he's getting married to Kiko, and Kiko becomes a recurring character as well, and she's even there on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
That's the kind of forethought I would have loved to see with Lost. Because like you're saying, there's only X amount of people here. They should be familiar faces. Also, as an actor, that's the dream. Like, I would love to be an extra and then give me a line. Hell yeah, I got my SAG card now.
Yeah.
And, you want to give me more? Okay, yeah. I think that'd be so cool. Also, a little hint to kind of the projects I like to work on and like write, where several years or whatever into the story, and one of your main characters was a nobody at the beginning.
Yeah.
He, like, if this was TV, he would have been an extra in the first episode. And that's what I like. That's what I would like to see, especially something that's so constraining with the amount of people you have. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see more of the hypochondriac guy. Maybe we'll see more of Locke's hunter friend. We shall see.
We shall see.
You mentioned the others earlier. This was kind of the first mention of the others. And we don't know who that is. Okay, but talk about heartbreak, man. Like, this kind of reminds me of when Jack was talking to Locke in a couple episodes back. But Russo's talking to Sayid, and he's with her, man. He's listening to her story. But then she says, I've never seen them, but I hear them whispering.
Yeah.
And like Sayid just kind of shoulders drop, and he realizes this woman's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, and she calls him out on it. She's like, you think I'm crazy? I just think you've been alone for too long. I'm like, no, y'all are doing so good. So, but now the episode ends with Sayid also hearing whispers.
Injured, alone, seemingly lost in a jungle.
Almost dark. It was getting dark
Almost
out there.
dark. hearing voices.
So, yeah, surrounded by voices. It's like, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
So the plot thickens. So we don't know what the voices are. We don't know what the cable is that went into the ocean. I do like they did say how Sayid knows that Russo doesn't have the power to transmit the signal. So we do know the signal is coming from somewhere else on the island. Somewhere it would have to be bigger or have more energy, more power.
Yeah.
So that means there's something else out there. Because she just had like batteries, like car batteries, I guess.
Yeah.
Boat batteries, whatever. But so there's more out there on the island. There's a golf course you might run into every now and then. She mentioned the bears when they heard a noise outside, and you could tell it was probably a bear. It sounded like a bear.
Yeah.
It didn't really sound like the noises we heard in like the first episode. Like this had like a distinct growl. Like, oh, okay. And she said,
more polar bears?
well, she says, she's like, hopefully it's one of the bears. I'm like, plural would make sense because for Bear Village, you can't just have one because then
That's true.
It's the bear house.
Yeah.
You need more to have a village. So
bear hut, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's more polar bears out there, but apparently there's at least more than one. So, and then Sayid asks, but what about the monster? She just looks at him like, what? There's no such thing as monsters. So that kind of has me throwing my hands up in the air like, what? Okay, this woman has been here for 16 years. What does she know about this thing? Has it just avoided her? Like, what? We need more.
More info.
We need more info, Sam. I know.
Come on, Matt. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. They also, so the episode kind of ends when Sayid ends up grabbing one of the guns. It turns out firing pin has been removed. That's what she also did to her husband, Robert. Right? That's his name, Robert?
Yes.
Robert? Because they're French, right?
I mean,
I think she calls him French. Robert. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think she calls him Robert, yeah.
She shoots her husband, Robert. And apparently she killed all of them because they were getting sick. And she mentions a sickness. And she ends up believing Sayid, and she kind of lets him go. This is this whole fight and argument thing, and I don't know. I thought it was really well done. But the last thing, he mentions the photo because she finds the photo of Nadia and she says, "What does it say?" Blah blah blah, and he just kind of brushes it off. He says, "What she wrote on it was, you will find me in the next life, if not in this one." And that really struck Russo, you know? Struck. It struck her. That's when Sayid finds out that, yeah, she killed pretty much her whole party because they were sick.
Because they were sick.
And she tells him, the people you're with, watch them closely. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, it's giving me the Thing vibes.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we also find out that the person she was looking for, Alex, was her child. That she was asking for Alex through the whole episode. She thought Sayid was one of the ones who took her or him. And Sayid was thinking, oh, Alex must be. He starts to think that's her lover or her husband or whatever. And then he finds out, no, that's Robert. So at the end, he asks, who's Alex? And she says, that's my child. Okay. So again, at this point, it's before Sayid had heard the whispers. So what the hell happened to Alex?
I don't know.
It's tough, man. It's tough to talk about this episode because we weren't given any answers. We were just given more questions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, like the French woman is still here. Like, okay, I guess that's technically sort of answered. You know, it's like, what happened to that group? Well, now we know she killed them all. because they
Right.
were sick and dying,
Yeah.
but we still don't know why they were here. We still don't know what we now know that they were sick, but like with what?
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple bears. There is plurals of bears, and there are other people on the island too who may or may not have kidnapped her son. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it's like we were saying at the beginning. Apparently, there's been a lot of people on this island. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me see. Are there any other cool notes? Most of it has to deal with Russo being batshit crazy one scene and then completely like normal and the next
Melting
scene.
your heart. Yep.
And yeah, and Carrie, you can tell like, man, Mira Furlan, man, she has like those eyes. She has the crazy eyes, but then there's also this like motherly kind of empathy that comes with it too.
Yeah.
I didn't know if she was going to like kill Sayid or hug him. You know, it's such a unique bond that those two had.
Yeah.
And she's still alive, so who knows when we'll get to see her again. But she let Sayid go, and when he said that, come back with me, and she said no. What did she say? I don't remember why. She says something, but she says no. Oh, I will mention the excellent camera trick in Sayid's flashbacks, which I think we see a lot more now. But the episode starts back and they're speaking another language as he's talking to the guy that they're interrogating, and the camera slowly like rotates around the guy's head, and as it comes out from behind, like they're speaking English.
Yeah.
All right, Lost. That was clever. I did like that.
Yeah.
That is Sam, what the professionals called a good transition. I don't have any experience with those. Hopefully, I will learn what a good transition is at some point in the show. Who didn't we see? We didn't really see a lot of Boone or Shannon, right?
They were there.
They're kind of just background. Arguing like, again.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
After last episode, it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, they're siblings.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah. I don't think we saw any of Sun and Jin this episode. Sun like guided the hypochondriac guy away from Jack, but that was it.
Yeah. I don't know where Jin was.
And I don't think we didn't see Claire, did we?
No, probably. I don't think so. Yeah, because Charlie was with Hurley for most of the episodes. I feel like if Claire was there, he probably would have showed up.
Yeah.
But also interesting, we haven't seen Rose in a while in a couple episodes.
Yeah, I was just
he was like in the first few, and then we didn't see her again.
I hope she's okay.
She's off climbing a mountain somewhere. I don't know. So I thought it was really cool how we saw Michael showing like his plans to Jack about like a water kind of filtration or something to separate the drinking water from bathing water. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's the kind of like unique little details I like to see in stuff like this. Like, yeah, okay, how would you survive it? Okay, well, you find this cave of water. How would you do it, especially with this many people? There was a deleted scene right before the hypochondriac shows up, and I think you still hear like Shannon yelling in the background, but she's yelling at Walt because Vincent basically jumps in the water to drink it, and that's all their drinking water. So that kind of, even though we didn't get it, that was nicely setting up Michael's scene, his first scene, where he's explaining how we're going to separate the water.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's all the cool little Boy Scout stuff that like I love. I'm like, oh yeah, show me the scary, the spooky, but also show me like the reality. Like, what steps do we need to take to survive?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty fun. And a big part of this episode was basically everyone is stressing the hell out, and that's something you don't really think about in survival mode. Well, what do you do once you're safe? Sure, you got stuff to do to survive, but man, we're surrounded by so much and our brains are just so saturated with like stimulation. What do you do if you're just on an island chilling?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the monster out there, I'd be exploring, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, just tie my shoelaces extra tight and let's go explore. I'd be mapping the island from like, I don't know, the inside. Sayid went on the coast. I would stay in the middle, get lost, and probably get eaten. But
yeah, probably.
if not by polar bears, then by the monster, whatever it is.
Or the boar.
The boar. That would be my luck. You know, like take me out my knees, and then I would just be on the ground, and they would just keep like ramming me. Like the babies would come out. The mama bear would take out my knee, and then the babies will like. She's like teaching them to hunt.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't even be a glorious death.
Nope.
Oh man. Yeah. A lot of survival this episode. A little bit of torture. A lot of darkness. A lot of talking about death. And I don't promise it's going to be any lighter next episode.
I don't expect it.
So, Sam, MVPs for this week.
Naveen Andrews, Sayid.
Dude, I think we've given it to him more than anyone else at this point.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. He's just it's a great character, and Naveen Andrews delivers. I'm going to have to give it to Mira Furlan because those two together are just, they're rocking it, man. It's also cool, too, because we get to see Naveen Andrews act with none of the cast. He's off on his own little side quest. It's the Sayid show.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see when characters are put into different scenarios that we're not used to. And it's interesting because he mentions to Danielle, to Rousseau, that Nadia's dead.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what, like, we're kind of led to believe, like, oh, maybe he kills her or something. Because that's kind of the twist at the end of his flashbacks. No, he actually helps her escape. So,
yeah.
Oh, okay, well, what happens? We have to find out. We skipped this last week, but any Sam predictions?
Ooh.
I don't think any were really answered this week from what you already have.
No, I don't think so. See, we keep getting super close to the group Kumbaya, and then it just gets taken away.
Right.
You know, it's like it doesn't happen. Like I was almost gonna say, I think we should count this as the group Kumbaya because everybody did come together.
It's true.
To watch these guys play golf.
If you think about it, I don't remember when you came up with that prediction. Oh, I think it might have been episode 1. I don't remember, but they were technically all together when they what was that, episode 4, when they burned the fuselage.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're gonna retroactively count it, Sam.
Yes.
That's another point for Sam.
Yes.
You're winning, dude. You're winning.
I'm winning. I am winning it. I am winning Lost.
All right. So what do you think? I don't know. Any new predictions, especially now that we kind of know a very little bit more about who the French were? Scientists of some sort.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see what happens next episode because I feel like Lost does the thing where it's like we're gonna present you with some information, then we're gonna wait about 2 episodes before we add another piece to the puzzle. So like I'm gonna wait. They gave us kind of a lot this episode, so I think by the time we record the next episode, I think I'll have a new sort of thing. But all my other ones still stand.
Okay, sounds good. Well, next time we're gonna be talking about Lost season 1, episode 10, Raised
Officially
by
in the double digits.
Yeah, we're in double digits now. Episode 10, Raised by Another. Next time, the mysteries of the island deepen when one of the survivors starts suffering from terrible nightmares.
Oh, jeez.
Ooh, what do
Spooky
Lost Nightmares
nightmares?
look like?
I don't know.
Hey, it's a
I
perfect
don't
time of
know.
year for us, man.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this right around Halloween time.
Yeah.
This is going to air. I mean, this episode is going to air in December. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Christmas spooky time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people are into spooky stories for Christmas.
Yeah. There's ghost stories. There's Christmas ghost stories.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You can find me at _ Matt Jimenez on the Twitter or Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch on Instagram.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Real, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo. And if you have any questions, just send them our way, either way, with the hashtag Ask Matt and Sam.
Sam and Matt.
Sam and Matt.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know this because nobody sent anything. So, you know, if somebody would send us something, then I would retain that hashtag.
I'm just sitting around drinking my whiskey and waiting to read Sam's comic book and watching a hashtag that has no hits yet. So send us your questions. This was a dark episode, so until next time, friends,
Get lost.